in my mind, is the First Amendment the first thing we've got to worry about, or do we have a lot of other problems that we also have to worry about?
Yes, and let me, they dedicated most of the hour and NPR yesterday, um, and one of them is the demise of the constitutional process. When is the last time anyone seriously thought about passing a constitutional amendment? That ship has sailed, and if you can't amend the Constitution because Ben Franklin said, this thing's a piece of junk, but we have the ability to change it over time as things change, so it will be a living document. It's not a living document anymore.
What was the last one that we tried to change?
Well, I believe that, the Equal Rights Amendment was actually in 1922, it was first proposed, believe it or not.
And we still haven't passed it.
I know it. And I said, I knew back then, I said, we're done here as a constitutional democracy. If we
changed. I think it was the congressional amendment on congressional pay or something like that. Was the last time it was amended, the 90s or something.
Yeah, I forget. They did the litany. I mean, we had the slavery one, blah blah blah. We got all those through in very divided times, but we can't get equal ERA, and of course now equal rights is not just men and women. It's about 7 different abbreviations, and all that. I get all that, but it just has to say that no discrimination on the basis of gender or identity or anything else kind of seems like a no-brainer.
And then let the lawyers fight it out in court?
Well, that's what these things are designed to do, keep constitutional lawyers busy.
Yeah. Well.
Yep. All right, I gotta go feed and trap some feral cats real quick. Stan, what are you presenting again? I didn't look at on Meetup.
mRNA.
MicroRNA.
mRNA. All you had to say was M. Yeah, mRNA. Yeah. No, sounds fascinating.
So I just posted 2 tidbits or 2 random bits in the chat. The first one is a Engineering with Rosie discussion on recycling, and she's kind of implying that we need to do a kind of a rehaul on the overall strategy of recycling to sort of revamp the priorities to align more with the reality of what's really going on, because not that much is being actually recycled.
5-10% is a national average.
And I think that
in the blue bin.
I think that yeah, that number sounds like she repeats that number, and so that's the first one. And then the second one, I think I've already sent out to most of you. Maybe Warren, you didn't get this. I don't know if I have a little group that I send out things to. Warren, maybe, I don't think you're on it.
No.
It's basically it's the description of the development of the TSMC factory in Phoenix, Arizona, and why she kind of claims that this gal that does this video is pretty sharp on her understanding of the fab world. She has a degree in electrical engineering and so forth. In the world,
the
fabrication world is it needs a lot of pure water, and it needs a lot of power, and there's just a lot of things about that Phoenix location that weren't necessarily ideal, especially the dust factor.
Yeah.
But they've been able to to pretty much settle all those. They have had some successful runs, but getting the what do they call that, the rate of error rate or the failure rate high enough, low enough that they can actually make money is a fairly long established problem. Yeah.
All right, so we're talking about IC fabrication, correct? On a uber level at a Taiwanese level
TSMC,
with ultra clean
small.
rooms and all that rigmarole.
In
Yeah.
the United
Yeah.
States.
Yeah. And you know, which is why space is a good place to go for that. Yeah. It's pretty clean, other than the weird little things that go through your body.
Well, cosmic rays also produce electronic failures.
Yes, they do.
So
I'm not sure that the idea of going to space for chip development is one. I think what's going on is that there's a discussion about going to space for data centers.
No,
that's
they're,
also true.
go ahead, Dave. They've done chip research to see what is possible in microgravity, et cetera, et cetera.
Chip manufacturing. The design doesn't have to be in space. Manufacturing is the question.
Right.
Is in space, can particle levels be kept as clean as we would want in a chip manufacturing factory?
Yeah,
We know how to do it on Earth, but it's very expensive. I mean, you're talking class 10 or class 1, where that's 1 particle per cubic foot, whereas in our homes, we're around class 300,000.
wow.
300,000 particles per cubic foot of 0.3 micron and larger in a typical house with a particle counter.
Right.
And in a clean room with a particle counter, you talking 1, 10, maybe 100.
Yeah. Now, the cosmic ray thing, we just got to get Elon Musk to put a 4-foot lead space station up there. Yeah.
You would never do it that way.
No.
You would put 10 feet of water in a shield around it. Because you can get water from comets.
Right. Yep. No, but what I heard about chip fabrication wafers was to do, not to manufacture so much, but to do some basic research fabrication, if whatever that word is, you know, alpha, just to see, because apparently microgravity comes into it, and gravity on Earth affects, apparently.
Part of the process for manufacturing integrated circuits, ICs, think of computer processors, is to crystallize pure silicon, draw the crystal out, slice it into discs,
Yep.
and then process the discs.
Right.
The crystallization can be better done
Yep.
without gravity.
Correct. Yep.
So potentially that might be a big deal. But
Yep.
I think also when they start to layer the information regarding the layout of the chips, the strategy for achieving a larger number of compute in the same space is that they're layering them up on top of each other. And I think if they can do that in a microgravity, it keeps it from sagging, or it keeps the
Oh,
gravity from affecting that layering process?
all the above, probably. Yeah.
Well, but the layering process is a process of coating that silicon crystal with um, dopant, which is
Doping. You dope it. Yep.
you 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 put a mask down, and then you irradiate the mask with the pattern that you want to put on the crystal, and then you expose it to the impurities into the crystal that make it a P or an N semiconductor,
Yep.
which is a positive or a negative doped crystal.
Right. And David, yeah, you're triggering what I learned and had forgotten already. Was that, yeah, starting with the purest, growing the purest silicon crystal is the key. You know, if you're making medicine that involves water or something, right?
Let's just stick with semiconductors
Okay.
and
Well,
integrated circuits, okay?
all right.
Because what they're now talking about quantum computers, and
Yep.
quantum computers, they want silicon pure to 6 nines, 99.999999.
Wow.
That's, do we want to say idiotically pure? And they think that that reduces the random noise, the electrical noise associated with heat.
Yep.
I think it's called coherence.
Yeah.
That's a good word.
Well,
But the
when you're
question
talking
is,
about qubits and trying to maintain some level of stability to determine the error rate, error reduction software for quantum computing is extremely important, because there is a coherence issue that you have to be able to maintain to keep the noise. It's a signal to noise ratio style of problem.
And David, you obviously know a lot about this. You've studied a lot about this. You're bringing
no,
me back to 1974 at San Diego State. Anyway, what about the non-silicon based? Is that a dead end? I mean, because there are people have been working on non-silicon based, correct?
semiconductors?
I
Absolutely.
thought so, or they were.
Yeah. There's no question that there are other ways to do it than silicon. And typically they come in with high energy semiconductors. That is high powered diodes.
Right.
I think are often manufactured on other bases than silicon.
Right. Okay.
So
All right. I'm gonna go catch some cats.
it's all a question of what's the cost and how expensive is it to produce.
Scaling up.
It strikes me that taking sand into space to purify it, to crystallize it, maybe isn't the right approach for manufacturing pure semiconductors.
Okay.
Only because of the cost involved. But I don't have a crystal ball, and I don't have access to the costs and those numbers.
Yeah. And what I believe is when they talk about quantum computing, they also want to be able to manufacture them in quantum quantities, if that's a phrase. In other words,
Yeah. Now,
a lot of them, a warehouse full of them. That's a lot of chips.
At a cost that will be adopted by
Right.
the economy.
Right. Yep.
And that's an interesting question because we've already seen China's big advancement in AI was that they could produce an AI that would be functional at a very much lower cost. Less training, less precise chips, less heat, less cooling required. Um, you're muted, Warren.
So another random bit, I saw a I saw a kind of a review, a product review last night of a new pair of Ray-Ban glasses that Meta is introducing that gives you a display that you can see kind of down in the corner of your eye for both being able to see apps that you can access. You can also shoot video, and you can see the video that you're shooting at the time that you're shooting it. And if you're in a video, if you're in a room with someone who's speaking another language, they're saying something that what they're saying comes up on your screen, and if they're speaking a different language, it'll translate it for you in real time.
Real time.
And so, it does require a smartphone connection. I don't think it needs to be wired connection, but it does require a cell phone presence. But the cost of these glasses is around $800, which is that's big news because an earlier version that they were demoing from Meta was like $10,000 for the so that's
And this is what we call disruptive innovation. Lower price, equivalent performance.
yeah.
Are you rushing right out to buy one?
No, because I like to wait for things to get kind of get the first round of bugs out of it. I think I'm not that. I mean, I find that I think that there's going to be ethical issues with people wearing glasses and to be able to take video without your awareness of it. But the one thing about the videos that you can shoot with these glasses is what we call POV or point of view video, which is really interesting because, for example, as a guitar player, the best way I've been able to see someone show me how to play a specific song with a guitar or how to play a series of chords is to have the camera looking down on your hand, your playing hand, your fingering hand, as the way you see it when you're playing. And that's a hard shot to get unless you've got your camera right up next to your eye.
Yeah.
And so that would be pretty nice video that you could get. And I would suppose that damn near anything that had to do with factory training on equipment would be easier if you had a POV camera as well. It's just hard to shoot a video without hands-free, without being with it, and have it be right there so you can say, this is how you see it, this is how you work it, this is how you do it, kind of thing.
Well, but a headset with a camera on it would probably be pretty close.
Right, yeah.
And it doesn't have to be so small that it'll fit in a pair of glasses. That may
But
be
the camera lens on a headset that 3 to 5 inches off from your eye can, for some things, make quite a bit of difference.
Okay.
Whereas the lens on these lenses is right here on the corner of your eye, corner of your glasses.
But you could have a headset that would hold your phone right there and come awfully close to the same as the way
Right.
you would see it.
Well, there's
And the cameras in the phones these days are awfully good.
yes, and they're just getting better.
Mhm.
I guess this new 17, the Apple 17 series, it supposedly has a fairly advanced telephoto style lens for doing close-ups on nature. For example, if a sparrow or a robin or a cardinal in a tree is something you want to shoot from a distance, that should be more possible now with this newer the 17 Pro, I guess.
And what's the cost difference to get that better camera?
I haven't looked at that. I don't know. I've got a 16 now, and I'm perfectly willing to I mean, I've gotten over even when I was doing computer animation seriously and so forth. I always felt a little put off by the speed of advancement of the hardware software increments. You know, everybody would say this is the graphics card that you need, but it only is going to give you, in the animation industry, if you're doing high level animation and you're spending $4,000 to $5,000 just on your graphics card, most of them are in the NVIDIA graphics cards. You've got to be making some pretty good cash on your animation, because it's only going to be really helpful for you to do that for a year and a half.
Oh, wow. That's
Because
how fast they change?
they're going to be coming out with the next series. And then the software gets better. When the graphics card gets better, then the software gets better. And everything starts leaving you behind in the dust if you're not advanced enough to be able to keep up with that.
Good morning, Eric.
Oh, good morning, David. I just sent you a little email about intro to my presentation next week.
Okay, great.
I'd already, did you lose the one I sent you? I thought that would be enough, but I sent you a couple other sentences you can add also.
Yeah, because I didn't have, apparently I missed the one you sent me.
Oh, okay, I sent it again. And you could also add the fact that by the analysis, they can predict just by selecting 1 out of 10, analyzing, 10, choosing one with the best overall, lowest overall disease risk. You can predictably add about 4 healthy years to the baby's life expectancy, other things being equal, as opposed to just taking one of the 10 at random, which you would get, without just doing a regular in vitro fertilization, whatever you get, just take one at random, each one you get at random, and implanting it, if choosing the one with the lowest health risk.
Okay, so was that part of what you wanted me to post?
Yeah, I think that would be good. That would attract people to attend, to know there's more to it than just another scam. And then I just got another by email. I just got one from Sebastian Jensen, the guy on Substack, it sent a long paper on basically the same subject, but about other companies and several companies, including Steve's and another one that does IQ selection, claiming they can, one that does IQ selection, to get some data showing they can increase the probable IQ of the offspring by about 5 points by choosing. I think if it was 1 out of 7 or 1 out of 10 in their case. Hey, Dean.
That one is an interesting topic for another meeting. I just saw a analysis of IQ by Nicholas Taleb, who wrote the
Oh no, that guy.
Yep, he's got some interesting things to say about how useful IQ really is.
Well,
I've got my hand up.
Yeah,
Yeah, and so that's great. But IQ, I'm here to tell you that IQ does not guarantee a successful human being necessarily.
of course, there are other factors.
exactly. So
The big 5
But-
personality factors being others that can
Yeah,
be measured
social IQ,
less accurately.
emotional IQ.
Yeah, agreeability, perseverance. I forgot what the psychologists call it, but it's perseverance, basically. Grit and
Grit.
yeah, grit and perseverance. Neuroticism. There are a couple others I can't think offhand that can be measured not as accurately as IQ, but they still are
well,
generally accepted by most psychologists.
and that's the other question is, what about psychology? Most psychologists, well, that's a whole nother question.
It's 10 o'clock, David.
It is.
Some are scientists. Not most psychologists are not real scientists.
Exactly.
I mean, some of them are. Some Daniel Kahneman and
Eric,
Jensen. And Peter.
I'll
Okay.
try to get something posted. We'll ask you at the end of the meeting to describe what you're going to do next week. But thank you. Stan, would you like to get started? And Tom, would you consider moderating, watching the hands and calling on people? Or do you want to do that, Stan?
Tom can do that. I want to start off today by, well, I'm going to be talking about microRNA and some of the investigation into the science behind what's going on with discovery of microRNA and how it functions. And it's obvious that it occurs to me that we've kind of seen this thing before with this Theranos issue that happened several years ago. I'm bringing this up. I don't know how, I'm not asking you to read this, but you all remember Elizabeth Holmes and the company Theranos, which was promising that you could take a pinprick and get your blood sample, and from that you could determine all kinds of illnesses and cancer and that kind of thing. There is no doubt that the most important aspect of discovering cure for cancer is early diagnosis. I can't tell you how many people I know, friends that I know, and relatives that I know that have had stage 4 discovery of pancreatic cancer or something like that, which was nothing more than a route to the graveyard in terms of trying to be able to push back on that in any kind of significant way. But being able to find some element of trace of a cancer before it gets into advanced stages is probably as close as we'll ever be able to get to a path towards being able to get a cure. And the fundamental understanding of blood, understanding of DNA and RNA, and the kinds of the building blocks, if you will, of the human cell and how that functions, being able to identify the elements within that puzzle to be able to understand how it works, obviously, is key to being able to understand how to find cures and how to find ways of keeping it from developing the way it does cancer on a normal path. So I want to get into the first video here.
Is there a connect? Well, we hope there's a connection between that and being able to early diagnose cancer, which is the whole key to cancer.
Oh,
I can't imagine that you would have any scenario, a successful scenario of curing cancer that isn't predicated on a better analysis of of what's going on. That I mean, those two things come together all the time.
Right, but do these markers? I'll have to study more. I don't quite get the relationship between that and detecting cancer, or other anomalies. But
There's more in the videos coming.
okay.
Tom.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay. These are important. They regulating the different genes can have a lot of different results because of these microRNAs, and we're learning more about them all the time. The RNA has, for a while, it was genomics, then proteinomics, which is much more complicated, and now we're getting into a further complication with these microRNAs. For example, sexuality is not just a matter of X and Y chromosomes. A lot of people have an XX or an XY, but some also have an XXY or just an X. And then how they're regulated, how they're expressed can vary quite a bit. You could have an XY and not be like an XY because of the gene, how the gene expression was regulated in your body. So this idea of sexuality is a tricky one. And this is one of the reasons why.
Yes. Go ahead, Eric.
Oh, just a couple points. So, in the first point, that only about 1% of the bases of the genome are dedicated to producing proteins, and when this was first discovered, and some retards started calling it the rest junk DNA, I just slapped my head and I immediately thought of the analogy of when I was studying neuroscience. Somebody, I think it was 1800s, they published a map of the brain surface and, showing different parts of the neocortex that had been shown to be damage to which had been really definitely correlated to specific functions of the brain. And then they said, and it was only about 10% of it. They said they idiotically said that we don't use 90% of our brain, and then all the more scammers started coming out. It was buy my book or whatever video, and I can teach you how to use the other 90%, things like that. So
Probably one of my favorite jokes is the idea of taking motor oil and pouring it on the motor or in the motor. Yeah. I think that there's just a lot of things that aha moments or eureka moments that are basically based on understanding. There was it Boltzmann, or who was the scientist who had the idea of atoms, of what atoms were before atoms were really even a thing? And I think the poor guy committed suicide.
Well, the idea of atoms was the ancient Greeks, but
yeah, and then 3 to 5 years after he committed suicide, Einstein comes out with his work that proved that atoms did exist. And go ahead, Chris.
I would say that this information raises questions about the mRNA vaccine. Because the mRNA vaccine, when it's injected, will slowly be degraded. And what if it's degraded into what if some of the degradation products are persistent microRNAs? And I say persistent because the mRNA vaccines are not made of normal nucleotides. The uracils are all replaced with N-methyluracil, which prevents the natural breakdown of mRNA. So I don't know for a fact, I'm just speculating. This might be an area to study before we go injecting people with strands of artificial mRNA. Just a speculation. I don't know the answer, but it's a question worth investigating.
I've got a lot of videos that there might be some overlap discussion here, but if you guys with questions and comments wouldn't mind suspending it, can we watch another video?
Sure.
Okay, here we go.
So this there's a nurture nature thing going on there, isn't it? So that we are born with our DNA and RNA, and then how this stuff gets expressed over time and development, both in utero and afterwards. And who was it that brought up the thing about mRNA vaccines? Yeah, I mean, the people that mess with this stuff know that they're doing a little bit of risky business when you start messing with that stuff, I believe.
Chris?
It's very interesting that the RNAs are like 22 nucleotides long. Maybe a mathematician should calculate how likely 22 nuclei long are to be able to find a specific, unambiguous stretch of a long RNA molecule to attach to. I don't, are 22 nucleotides long where each one can only be one of 4 letters? Is that enough to be distinctive and bind to just one specific place of RNA and all of the messenger RNA molecules in there? Maybe. I'm just raising that question. It seems like it's awfully short. But anyway, just a question.
Carol?
Yeah. Is this suggesting in the background that cancer is basically an immunodeficiency disease?
It is.
That if your body is functioning properly, your immune system will take care of cancers as they arise. And we don't know what goes wrong with the immune system to suddenly stop it from taking care of eradicating or ceasing to keep these small cancers where they started and not metastasizing. I'm just kind of asking for clarification. Is that a correct understanding?
That is my understanding.
Stan?
Yeah.
I was hoping for an definitive answer from you.
This is over my head.
Oh,
I
I've
would
always-
say that rapid cell growth is a feature and a problem. Certainly during development, rapid cell growth during development of a fetus and that is necessary. There must be some mechanism to stop rapid runaway cell growth because it's both a feature and a problem.
Yep.
I think that there's a discussion that you could imply called epigenome or something like that, where there's a control system. I heard at one time there was a discussion about if you let's say you cut your finger, that the cells on the side of that cut recognize that there's something going on there, and it starts the healing process. And so there's a regulatory thing going on there that starts that healing process. But then when it gets the healing process is done and there's a scar or whatever, then that healing process stops. In cancer, the analogy is that cancer is like a healing process that has not been able to tell stop doing this. Stop, because it just keeps growing, kind of thing. David.
It's complicated. We know that. But we're at the beneficial end of millions of years of natural selection. Okay? The fact that it works as well as it does is miraculous on oh so many different levels. We don't know why vaccines work as well as they do. Well, actually, some of the biologists have a pretty good idea at this point why vaccines work as well as they do. And in fact, vaccines have been around for, almost 100 years now? They were, quote, discovered because somebody figured out that it worked. So the mRNA vaccines have been, quote, discovered, designed to take advantage of some of the, quote, new understanding we have about how our bodies work. Sure, there are going to be some unexpected consequences of using mRNA vaccines. Hopefully, as we study the results, we'll discover how to make them better with fewer side effects. But you've got to remember, engineering trade-offs, as Dean's sort of implying, one side the other. What we have to remember is we could have let a lot more people die of COVID-19 without the vaccine that worked as well as it does. Is it perfect? Undoubtedly not. Could it be done better? Probably, and next year we hope that it will be. And eventually, we think medicine will be tailored to the person rather than just one size fits all, as vaccines have been for the last 100 years.
Well, that that message of fitting the medication to your own personal genome goes, in my mind, back to Craig Venter when he started the genome process to start with.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
we have always been this discovery process. I mean, even back then when Francis Collins and Venter and all those people back in the early 2000s, 2003, it was during the Clinton administration when they got that award for the genome process.
Whatever.
All of that, people were saying that they had just scratched the surface of what's going on here. And we're still scratching that surface.
I gave a talk a few months ago on single nucleotide polymorphism, which addresses this topic about individual medicine. If you want to go back and check that, you can find out all about it.
Well, or at least more about it. Covering it in 2 hours was probably scratching the surface also. But to
That's
your question about is 22 long enough, it seems awfully short. And I agree, it seems awfully short. But again, we're the beneficiaries of millions of years of natural selection. So it appears that it was good enough to work to get the complicated system that we are functioning as long as it does. And some people live to be 100. They're talking now about maybe living to be 120. And when you consider that the, quote, selfish gene discussion was living long enough to have progeny, which is more than adequate, 30 years, we are the beneficiaries in the extra 70 years after that. In other words, nature did a good enough job to more than reproduce.
Yeah, we differ in our opinion on mRNA. The mRNA used in the mRNA vaccine was totally artificial. It did not have all of the 4 natural nucleotides. All of the uracils were replaced by N-methyluracil, which is an artificial nucleotide, and the code was changed to the DNA code was changed to optimize rapid synthesis. It was nothing close to natural mRNA, and to inject that into people without careful, prolonged testing, I personally think is unjustified. If it was natural mRNA, that may be different, but this was a completely synthetic RNA that is found nowhere in nature.
And you say that prolonged the life of the mRNA in the body?
Yeah.
That was why they did it? Interesting.
Listen, Dean, if you don't mind, and Tom.
Can I real quick try to correct? I'm going to risk correcting David. Vaccination has been around for millions of years. Think on it.
Listen, I've got another video. This is the video that I'm going to show now that was the actual source video that got me started on this idea. And all these other ones were the ones I just added on to kind of give us some fill. This is the Dr. Miles, Ben Miles guy, and this is his original discussion about this. So let me get this thing going here. Just a second here.
And your immune system gets to the point where it can't quite handle all the cancers. The cancers will most likely be showing up in your lungs because they have gotten this environmental stress all along. And I just think we need to take that into account as well.
Eric.
Oh, yeah, as to why some things, cancers develop, go more malignant than others. There are many, many feedback loops, what probably not understood in the body and involved in the various biochemical pathways that tend to keep what's called homeostasis, your body basically overall stable. And there are, and then within a cancer cell, it can defeat these. One of these stabilizing pathways, something that can interfere with those. If there's a mutation that's involved in something that's controlling these feedback loops, then and sometimes there are several steps have to occur for a malignancy, for a cancer to go totally malignant, and even worse. Even if you get a drug that seems to keep it under control, or there are almost always a few cancer cells floating around, and they keep mutating, and they're so randomly clever that eventually they usually find another pathway. Well, often the anti-cancer drugs just block a critical pathway that feeds something that the cancer cell needs, and then they die. But they keep mutating, and if there's just a few survive, eventually they mutate to evolve a new pathway around the pathway that's being blocked by the cancer drug. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So,
So I when I saw my oncologists, I had the best newest book I could find on Amazon on Introduction to Cancer. I said, "Is this good? Do you know of anything better?" And he just wrote that, "I'm going to buy that." He says, "Nobody can keep up with all this stuff." It's just unbelievably complex, and
That's why we're all individuals.
yeah, there won't be a cure for cancer. They'll find one way to block it, or detect it, and then it'll keep finding other ways, of mutating that we to thwart our efforts.
Yeah, everything I've heard is that cancer treatment will have to be individualized to your
Yes.
individual genome, period, or it ain't going to work.
Yeah, I think so.
being a big fan of animation, especially scientific animation, I've seen over the years wonderfully gorgeous animations of cell splitting and the kind of animations that describe Cas9 and all of that kind of things. And one of the animators at a conference was making the comment that even though you don't seem to be doing anything, you're doing a lot. When you're talking about all the thousands of things that are happening inside the cell, and just to keep you homeostasis of your body, you're doing a lot. Things are happening. But let's get back to this now.
Okay,
David.
If I could share screen for a minute.
Sure.
It's also possible that we may have discovered enough about how cancer works that we will cure it without side effects. I suspect this one would be worth watching over the future.
You want to post that in the chat? Are you asking me about the Dr. Miles, Eric?
Yeah, is this this is Dr. What is it, Thorne, or it says Thomas with
Thomas
Professor
Seyfried.
Thomas Seyfried. Is this based on peer-reviewed science, or? And not just some other guy selling something on YouTube or.
David, are you suggesting that we watch that video now?
I'll vote for that.
It looks very interesting.
I'd like to know though, is he citing peer-reviewed science to support what he says? Not, there's just endless guys on YouTube claiming they have a cure for cancer. Or they know the cure for cancer or the cause of it or whatever.
I think I remember reading something about that maybe a couple of months ago about fermenting glutamine being an indicator, but I don't recall the details.
We could grok it pretty quick or ask her, I guess.
We could have watched the 12-minute video by now.
Yeah.
Is David, are you on, are you offline or something? David? Hello?
Must be.
Let's see if I can.
Is
All right.
there some reason you don't want to show this video, or you're having trouble with it, or?
Let me do a quick search. What was that called? What was the name of that video?
Cancer is a metabolic disease. Yeah, 11 minutes, 10 seconds. That's the one I got up. Thomas Seyfried.
What I mean?
Let's see if I can find out any other details about it.
Let's see what grok says. Let's see.
Okay, the NIH has something about glucose and glutamine necessary and sufficient for dysregulated tumor cell growth. So that is an indicator of cancers, I guess. Did you want to see that video or not?
Please?
Do you have the same video that David pulled up?
I think I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Beth left the shop her way. All her groceries, plus savings and delivery.
Let me get
Come,
through the ad and then I'll
happy.
share it.
Affinity Plus presents Real Life Math from Real Members. Alexandra says, getting my auto loan was a smooth.
Cancer is a metabolic disease. That's the one. And let me let's see. Yeah, what to share. There we go. That doesn't answer the question of peer review and that type of thing, but it sounds like a possibility.
It sounds like an alternate perspective, and he didn't. I guess he's putting this aside, the whole genetic microRNA argument.
Oh.
I have my hand up. Yeah. No, he's on to something, because what medical science has been doing so far ain't working all that well. But the only thing I would argue with is ask the 10,000 women that get double radical mastectomies at 22 years old. But that is very, very rare, where they can absolutely 100% predict that you will get breast cancer. But
based on your genetics.
Yeah, based on genetics. So everybody wants a black and white binary answer. It is some of it probably genetic, probably yes. Is a lot of it what we've done to our immune system with the god-awful diet that we eat? More likely.
Chris?
I'm highly skeptical. It's not impossible that he could be 100% right, but I really doubt it. It sounds too simplistic. Also, since cancer, if there's no genetic component, how do the cancer cells reproduce and grow there has to be a genetic component because the cell duplication has that's what causes cancer, rapid cell growth. I am highly skeptical. It would be great if that was the answer, but my bullshit meter is going up to a, from on a scale of 1 to 10, it's about a 7.
But does it not bear further research?
Oh, yes, 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 yes.
Thank you.
When I just Googled it, it says peer-reviewed research increasingly supports the view that cancer is a metabolic disease, not solely a genetic one, due to altered cellular energy production and biosynthesis.
Yeah, he left out the word fully. It's not
Yes, yes.
genetic.
Yeah, it is a genetic.
I'm right, you're wrong. Yeah.
So he's basically claiming that there is a diet that cancer can't survive without, and if you don't feed the cancer, it goes away.
What is it? What is it? I don't know what keeps taking the hand down.
That's oversimplifying, Stan, I think.
Well, that's what I heard.
He was talking about treating it by doing a water-only fast and adjusting your ketones, and I've done that for decades to lose weight and be healthier. And yeah, but
And have you gotten cancer?
I have not.
So,
But my sister did for whatever reason, and
but she wasn't doing that same process to lose weight, right?
right, you go into ketosis, and what's interesting is we put my sister on a Atkins diet back in the 70s, right? My brother and I lost weight. My sister absolutely did not. And I said, Kim, are you cheating? And that's when she became a smoker. She said, well, I got to lose weight. She started smoking and she lost weight. Never got lung cancer, but yes, the answer is we don't know the answer to this.
We don't know all the answers.
All the answers.
We know part of the answer.
Right.
Well, I don't know if we know half.
But
What?
as far as genetic versus, there are families that are prone to cancer. They
Yep.
just are. They can be the healthiest metabolic people on the planet, and yet they are more likely to get cancer.
The question is whether that's nature or nurture.
Nature, nurture.
Both.
It might be the environment they grew up in. I don't know.
For
And
generations.
we know there are cancer-causing chemicals in our environment. We know that some people are more susceptible to them than others. We don't know all of the reasons why, but it seems to make sense that if you can maintain your immune system in the proper range, not too active, not too inactive, that keeps us alive for 30 to 50 years. Pretty well.
That was a short.
Okay.
That was it?
That didn't tell us anything, did
That
it?
was an infomercial for Nobel Prizes.
Okay.
Okay, coming up with another one.
Dan, why don't you let Carol ask her question or make her comment before you start the next one?
Carol?
Well, I was just going to mention, and some of you may have heard this story that Hank used to talk about, that when he was growing up, he knew two women who were identical twins. And they turned out after their 20s to live radically different lifestyles. One of them moved to California and married some guy who was a fitness freak. And so she was getting all the exercise in the world, you know, with him, and got on as healthy a diet as they could come up with, you know, but this was happening back in starting in the 50s.
Yeah.
And her sister stayed in Minnesota. I believe she married as well. And the two of them basically only got off the couch when they had to, you know, go to the fridge and get some junk food. Oh, and she smoked, and she ate an extremely unhealthy diet.
Okay, so what was the result for the two?
Well, the one who lived the unhealthy lifestyle died of congestive heart failure in her late 50s. And the other one was still going strong in her 80s.
Yeah.
And
so that's not cancer related.
no, it's not really cancer related, but it is a beautiful double-blind study in that you have, you know, these people had identical DNAs. They were identical twins, not fraternal. And so environment can really impact, I think was the point of this. With exactly the same DNA.
Right.
Dean, you have something quick?
Well, anecdotally, we'll never know about my mom because she died at 42 from unrelated. My Aunt Avis, her sister, never smoked in her life. Our whole family's been smoking since the dawn of man. And she died of lung cancer, and that was the first cancer in our family, both families, for 3 generations. So she never smoked. Got lung cancer. Lived in St. Paul.
All right, this is my last video. It's about 5 minutes long. Okay, that was 10 years ago, so that doesn't have the most recent innovation regarding microRNA since the Nobel Prize winning research, but that's some background.
But it was great animation, Stan.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
And I thought RISC was reduced instruction set computer, but now I know.
Acronyms tend to get overlapped.
Yep.
I wish we could find a whole library of animations like that, organized set of. That would be great if anybody ever hears of one.
Yeah.
I apologize for, making noise earlier. My friend is calling from Israel. He's only 25, 30 miles from the war, and it's getting to him. like all the time they're flying. It's right by the biggest hospital, and so they're flying in all the badly wounded over his head, helicopters all the time, and he knows they're bringing badly wounded, and they put the dead and newly dead and their families on TV all the time. It's almost macabre, really getting to him. So sorry. I'm going to have to call him back and talk to him after this. It just drags on, with no end in sight. And there's nothing Israel can do. They can't pull out and they'll just reconstitute. Hamas will just reconstitute again. And
Well, the problems in Israel are similar to the problems in the United States. It drags on, and it seems like there's nothing we can do.
pretty much. I mean,
That's not the topic this morning.
David, could you speak just a little louder?
Sorry.
Okay, it wasn't relevant to this topic anyway.
Right.
all right. Just letting you know why.
But we still do have 20
I
minutes.
guess I'll inject my personal observation here with regards to the doubling down on ignorance that seems to happen a lot in society. And that is that there's a pragmatic way of navigating through life. And there's the way that then there's one that's sort of based on enlightenment. And I'm having lived in the rural communities and moved to the city because I thought there was more opportunity in the cities. That's the trend, I think, with the political norms. There's a rural component and there's a urban component. It's obvious in Minnesota and most everywhere that the cities tend to be blue and the rural tends to be red in terms of its political orientation. And that's and that gets basically accentuated by the day-to-day life of what you want to do and how you want to go about doing things on the farm or in the rural community versus in the city. And I think that goes way back to Rome and to Athens and everything about that. It's a different discussion than RNA and so forth, but they're analogous sorts of arrangements that you can come up with analyzing it. But yeah, Dean.
Yeah, that was off topic, but I'll just make a comment. And when one bombs a fertility clinic with sperm and eggs and fertilized, that is the definition of genocide. And we know who the one is.
Are you suggesting that killing off embryos is worse than killing off
I'm
existing?
saying it's a message. Not only are we going to kill you, we're going to kill your unborn. That kind of sounds like a message.
Yeah.
We could talk about genocide, but that's not the topic this morning. It seems
Not off on
to
it
me-
and stand double down. So
Yeah, well, it seems to me that we have not explored all of the questions that come up with regard to medical advancement.
Hardly touch on it here.
Of
Yeah, we
course,
talked about cancer, but not much else.
Yeah, even
Well-
that we can barely touch on here.
yeah, and the idea that we've learned enough more that possibly we can analyze different ways of treating cancer. The Longevity Diet was a book that was published almost 10 years ago now, I think. And they talked about fasting as improving the odds of cancer treatment. So when Chris was talking about his bullshit meter up at about 7, yeah, that's fine. But it's not as if this isn't in line with a lot of things that we've been hearing.
Yeah, I think, well, there are many factors that can affect cancer. And for, I don't know, maybe what he was saying, the bullshit was that just saying it's not genetic at all or it's all one or the other is kind of the bullshit where it gets into bullshit. Yeah, they're both. Obviously, both, many factors can affect cancer. And, but to just say it's almost all one or the other is bullshit, I think.
Carol?
Yes, it might be interesting to look at the Nobel Prize in Chemistry for the same year that these people got the Nobel Prize in, was it medicine and
Medicine.
something else? In that there has been an incredibly dramatic increase in our ability to predict protein folding, you know, from the unfolded sequence of DNA, to predict what that is going to look like when it folds and takes up its useful shape. This has just been, our ability to do research in this area has exploded. And I think that's going to affect cancer research.
Oh, sure, eventually.
Even if maybe not in the United States. In the
Yeah, okay.
I found another video that's only a few months old, so if you want to, it's 1 minute long. Let me
Sure.
Can I was next. Fasting, we've been doing that for 2 million years, right? As hunter-gatherers. And it seems to have worked for 2 million years.
What, fasting?
Of course, human beings did not eat 7 meals a day. Not the early ones.
It's really complicated to separate the effects of fasting. When you say it worked well enough, that's true. But when you say it works to affect the likelihood of catching cancer, that's a lot more difficult to prove.
Cancer was not an issue for 2 million years because they didn't live past 35. So.
Well, people did have cancer. Yeah, they found it in fossil, DNA and so on.
No.
Right.
That's totally incorrect, Dean.
What? That early Homo sapiens and Homo erectus only lived to be about 35? I don't think so.
No. Certainly, by the time you get to Homo sapiens, they had approximately the same lifespan that we do. The only reason that the average came out to 35 was incredible infant mortality and incredible maternal mortality.
Granted.
Warfare
But I mean, where does the saying come from? The days of a man's life are three score and 10.
You get into average and median and all that rigmarole.
Yeah.
Basically.
I mean, they didn't all senesce at 35. It's just that that's where the statistic hits.
Lifespan and life expectancy are two different things.
Two different animals. And real quick, Stan, before your minute video, I remember the Suzanne Summer diet. And all I know is it tends to work for me. And what she did, she was an omnivore, and she would only eat one type of food for the entire day. I will do that for meals. I'll eat an all vegetable meal. I'll eat a protein meal. And all I know is my gut reacts to it much, much better, because your gut has to turn out different stuff for protein, for fats, for carbohydrates. And if you only give your gut one task, it tends to do it better.
Well, I'm sitting here from the beginning saying the answer is in the analysis at a smaller level. And I'm going to use the metaphor, we didn't understand matter until we understood atoms. We don't understand atoms until we understand subatomic particles. And then I'll go to another myth of string theory, which has gone on for 40 some or 60 some years. And critics are claiming that it's not empirically testable. Therefore, get off your high horse and let's get sent down and do some real science. But the bottom line is that I think that it's not a bad idea to look at microRNA as a next level or a page in the peeling of the onion, if you will.
Yep.
To be able to understand what is the combination of the RNA maps or ingredients that are basically making your cells of the muscles and the cells in the brain and the cells in the gut. All of these different cells have the same ultimate architecture and structure, but components of them are being silenced, are turned off, deactivated, and so forth, and
overactivated maybe.
And even when I hear people talk about brain cells and neurons, they talk about pruning, and then they talk about elasticity, being able to make people think creatively or get out of the idea of getting into a rut. And that doesn't happen just on the personal level, that happens on a cultural level. I mean, I could go on with my metaphors if you want, but I'll try not to wax philosophically too much. But I want to thank you guys for letting me present this information today. I felt that it was something, when I saw the Ben Miles program first, I identified it as being something that would be worth a discussion with the Futurists. And then I found a few extra videos to go along with it to try to enhance it a little bit and stretch it to, I guess I'm short by 7 minutes of a full time frame. But I realize that this is way over my head. I'm just trying to figure it out myself. And I enjoyed doing my learning collaboratively. And you guys are the greatest group that I know of to start with. And I know that
I learned a number of things from
There's some
your
good
videos and the discussion that I didn't know before, and that's great.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did some good picks, Stan.
But
Well,
of everything I learned, I have 3 questions unanswered yet. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's also why the more you learn, the more questions accrue faster than answers with
Well,
me.
So
yeah,
what
yeah.
are your questions, Dean? What are your questions?
I have to ruminate on them. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, a lot of this stuff, my question is, why was I not born 40 years later? Because this is the field combining the body and computers that I absolutely would have been in.
Yes, but you were not born a ruminant. I mean,
well,
I have visions of you going off and chewing the cud until you,
Oh, no. I did a lot of time ruminating as a child. Trust me.
well,
as
okay.
a child, I was in a situation where I was pretty much denied accurate information damn near about everything.
Why is
And
that?
so
And I was swamped with information.
yeah, that's why Dean and I are kind of interesting to each other, because why was that, Eric? My father was a Methodist minister, and I was surrounded with the Christianity, small town, Iowa, theology type thing. I went to state schools, but no one took me seriously because they knew that I couldn't be converted because I was in the family of the it's just a long story. I should somehow write an autobiography. But my curiosity was very high because I was learning usually on a daily basis why all the information I was being told wasn't right. And so it was the negative side of things.
I could sort of understand because my 10th grade biology teacher was in Florida in the 50s. He didn't believe in evolution because I asked him one time in class, how come you never, he'd go, his old notes, he was also a football coach and a Marine Corps, a sergeant in the Marine Corps Reserves and all that sort of thing, World War II that. And, I asked him one time, he just kept reading all these notes, phylum 1, protozoa, and then phylum 2, and I asked him why he never talked about the evolutionary interrelationships, and he said, I don't swallow that, do you? And I said, yes, sir, I do, but I have to give him credit, he never discriminated against me for it. And I learned more in that class. It was the hardest class, and I learned more than in any class until graduate school. Like he'd taunt us. We had write a book on biology, and he'd say, I'll tell you one of the questions on the first semester test right now. List the bones of the human body, and so on. And my memory has never been great, for rote memory. So
Only 208 of them. So
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I've even forgotten the number, but I had many of them memorized, but that's all gone.
206 212 when you're born, and then some of them fuse together, leaving 206 as an adult.
my favorite is the humerus because I like
Exactly. We all know where our funny bone is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, can one teach biology and not believe in evolution? Can one teach electronics and not believe in
You
electrons?
can't understand it. Biology,
Yeah.
like the big geneticist, anyway, he said nothing in biology makes sense except in light of evolution.
Yeah.
I mean, you can memorize all the facts, observed facts, but you don't really understand all the relationships of things.
Yeah, real quick, Dave, unless we're going to tangent. I mean, electrons, it turns out, are only a probability anyway, right? That's how they describe electrons, a probability of something being in a certain place.
There are things we cannot see, and so we describe them by analogy.
Yeah.
Or statistics.
Or by math, n-dimensional maths or something.
Right.
we know that electrons have a certain electrical charge, namely negative, and they have certain characteristics.
Yeah.
Well, and we have things like the Josephson junction.
Yeah.
Could we spend a couple minutes talking about next week's program since
Okay.
Sure.
doing the presentation?
Who's
Tell
next?
us about next week's program.
Oh, well, I'm going to do broadcast by Stephen Schill, my favorite polymath. He's trained as a theoretical physicist. He's just brilliant, and he's published several different fields, mainly in recent years, human genomics and nature. He's always wanted to know about the nature of intelligence and why some people are smarter than other people and so on. And so he's going to go through, and now he's founded a in vitro fertilization company. Well, there's some of those already, and in fact, it's 10%. It's the wave of the future, and modern progressive countries like Denmark, it's 10% of births now are from in vitro fertilization, and I think it will be the choice among intelligent, educated people in the future. And
why?
Because it can give much better hope, among other things. Already, just by selecting 10 vitro, they can do things to get the prospective mother to squirt out produce about 10 fertilized eggs. They get eggs from the mother, and they can get her to produce more of them, and then they fertilize them in vitro, and now they can sequence it, developing, and do a full sequence, genomic sequence of the embryo without hurting it somehow, and just by taking and he's got the latest AI ways of genomic analyses. They can predict overall risk of various major traits such as cancer or cardiovascular disease risk. and they give a simple composite number. It says the doctors all want is just an overall disease rate. As you can, just by doing this alone, just by taking the best of 10 fertilized embryos and using that for the implantation, it can give predicted 4 extra healthy years of expected life, other things being equal, to the baby. I mean, that alone is, how much is that worth? And
but they're only
he's not
measuring
selecting.
certain things.
Huh?
They're only looking at certain things, right?
There's quite several things like cancer risk, heart disease risk, diabetes, other things. He does not yet select for intelligence, although there are other competitors that do. But that can be done, but it's still pretty crudely, only about a 0.3 to 0.4 correlation of, from.
But you could do that with a sperm bank. My sister did.
Well,
Yeah,
I don't
well,
know.
what is
Depends.
intelligence anyway?
Well, but
Hey,
is
when I
of
take it,
interest to those of us who are interested in the future. This is a question that certainly could be of interest.
If you have a family, a high family risk, incidence of cancer, for example, you may want to choose the embryo with the least cancer risk of 10. And you can potentially reduce that risk in your offspring. How much is that worth? Like Cameron told me, he had a friend who was a doctor, and he was an MD, and the guy's brother and father had died of prostate cancer early. And so he was getting prostate checked every 6 months, and he still got it and died of it early, well below, average age. So, yeah, if you have something like that, you'd certainly want to look at,
I think the Dr. Ben Miles research and the development that this guy was describing in that video seems to be trying to use the evidence coming from microRNA and detection to be able to increase the odds of seeing the signals coming from the body about cancer sooner in an earlier stage.
Yeah, to detect it and tell where it originated.
Well, there are definitely people who definitely born with a higher cancer risk. Let's put it that way. I'm not saying that, glutamine, I looked at there's
But is this a cancer risk that can be detected in an embryo?
Oh yeah, cancer risk. Oh yeah. How many has everyone had their full genome sequencer? Or
this is all assuming that cancer is a genetic disease. We just
I'd say it's known that there's a predictable genetic risk, and some people they can give a genetic risk and with some accuracy.
Correlation.
Well,
what does it mean to say it's metabolic instead of genetic?
The metabolic factors in the environment. Well, I don't know if he's saying that's the only overwhelming cause. They're both involved. There are many ways you can get cancer, or it can be proliferate faster or whatever.
But I think if you go back to the first video that Stan showed, it was saying that it tends to be not that some people have a greater risk of cancer, but that some people have a greater risk of early failure of the immune system to be able to control cancer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that would be a genetic risk of cancer if your immune system, the nature of your immune system.
Yes, but I mean,
genes, then
it's a
that's
different
genetic
mechanism.
Cancer.
I mean, it seems like metabolic seems to me it's a different scale of the organism rather than looking at it, at the surface of it, something going to inside of it.
I thought he was talking about environmental interventions, whether negative ones unintentionally or positive ones intentionally. I thought that was what he was saying was the overwhelming factor, and in some cases,
I think that looking at just the genome is not going to be much of an answer, because there's epigenetics involved, which is the stuff that controls the expression of the genes, and that's probably more important for cancer.
But what determines your epigenetics?
Well, that was what
you're not going to see that in a genetic test.
That's what I thought the microRNA was about.
I don't know.
What is controlling the epigenetic?
Right. And
What determines your epigenome? I'm sure genetics is a factor, and environmental.
It's kind of a 3D chess problem, I think.
yeah, it's complex.
Yeah, there are many factors, and to say one is overwhelmingly true. In some rare cases, that you can sort of predict certain people will, because of their genes, they very likely will get a certain cancer. When I just gave an example of other people are, with intermediate risks, other factors, environmental factors are more important. They're important for everybody. Everybody can get cancer if you have bad enough environmental factors. I'm sure everybody could get cancer.